The elevator should never have stopped on that floor. The thought hits Chloe Bennett a second too late, as the soft chime echoes and the doors slide open to somewhere that doesn't exist on any directory she's ever seen. Just seconds ago, she had been clutching a stack of files, rushing through her first week as a temp assistant in a Manhattan skyscraper that felt far too polished for someone wearing thrifted heels and a borrowed blazer. She had meant to press 27. She was sure of it. But the panel flickered, glitched almost, and now the number glowing above her head isn't a number at all, just a blank space, like the building itself is holding its breath. The hallway beyond is silent. No buzzing fluorescent lights. No ringing phones. Just a warm amber glow stretching across polished floors that look more like a private residence than an office. Chloe hesitates, one foot still inside the elevator, heart tapping fast against her ribs. This isn't right. This isn't anywhere she's supposed to be. But then again, nothing about this week has felt right. The job, the building, the way everyone seems to move with quiet confidence while she constantly feels one step behind. She exhales slowly and steps out. The doors close behind her with a soft click that sounds louder than it should. The air smells faintly like coffee and cedarwood, not printer ink and cleaning supplies. Somewhere deeper inside, she hears the faint clink of a mug being set down. You're not supposed to be here. The voice is calm, low, not angry, but it still freezes her in place. Chloe turns. A man stands a few feet away, sleeves rolled to his elbows, no tie, no badge, no sign that he belongs to the rigid corporate machine downstairs. He looks normal, too normal for a place like this. His dark hair is slightly messy, like he's been running his hands through it, and his eyes study her with quiet curiosity instead of suspicion. Chloe swallows. I think I pressed the wrong button, she says, her voice softer than she intended. He tilts his head slightly, as if considering that. Then, unexpectedly, a small smile forms at the corner of his mouth. Or maybe, he says, stepping a little closer, you pressed the only one that matters. The words hang in the air, strange and unsettling, and Chloe feels something shift inside her chest, something she can't quite name. She glances around again, taking in the open space, the untouched desk, the large window stretching from floor to ceiling revealing a view of the entire city below. This isn't just a top floor. It's something hidden, something private. I should go, she says quickly, instinct kicking in, the need to retreat before she's caught somewhere she doesn't belong. But he doesn't move to stop her. He just watches her, that same unreadable calm in his expression. You can, he replies quietly. But you won't forget this floor. Chloe forces a small, awkward laugh, backing toward the elevator that still hasn't returned. Pretty sure I will, she says, trying to sound light. Normal, like this isn't the strangest moment of her life. But as she reaches for the call button, she notices something on the table behind him. A sketch. Rough lines, unfinished, but unmistakably her face. Her breath catches. She's never been here before. She's never seen this man before. So how does he already know exactly what she looks like? Chloe does not realize she is holding her breath until it starts to hurt. Her eyes stay locked on the sketch, the soft pencil lines capturing the exact tilt of her head, the loose strand of hair that always falls across her cheek when she is nervous. It is not just similar. It is precise. Too precise. She slowly looks back at him, her fingers tightening around the folder she is still holding. That is not possible, she says quietly, more to herself than to him. The man follows her gaze, then glances at the sketch like it is nothing unusual, like it does not rewrite reality in a single glance. It is just a drawing, he replies, calm, almost casual. Chloe shakes her head, taking a small step forward despite herself. You do not understand. That is me. The words come out sharper now, edged with something between confusion and fear. He studies her again, this time more carefully, like he is measuring her reaction instead of her face. Maybe you just see what you want to see, he says. But Chloe knows what she saw. She has spent years studying reflections, angles, expressions, sketching strangers in coffee shops when she had time between shifts, memorizing faces because she could never afford classes. And this is not coincidence. The elevator dings softly behind her, the doors sliding open again as if nothing unusual has happened. An exit. A chance to walk away and pretend this never existed. Chloe does not move. How long have you been drawing me? She asks, her voice quieter now, but steadier. The question lingers in the air, heavier than anything else in the room. For the first time, something shifts in his expression. Not guilt, not panic, just a flicker of something she cannot name. Long enough, he answers after a pause. That is not an answer. That is something else entirely. Chloe exhales, trying to ground herself, trying to remember the version of reality that makes sense. She came here for a temporary job. She got lost. She stepped into the wrong elevator. That is all this is supposed to be. But none of this feels like a mistake anymore. It feels placed, designed. I really need to go, she says, this time meaning it. She backs into the elevator, her eyes still on him, waiting for him to say something that will make this normal again. He does not. He just stands there, hands in his pockets, watching her like he already knows exactly what she will do next. The doors begin to close, narrowing the space between them, and for a brief second Chloe considers asking one more question, something simple, something safe. Instead, she says the only thing that feels real. Who are you? The door slides shut before he answers. The descent feels longer than it should, the numbers blinking down one by one like a slow return to reality. When the doors finally open to the busy hum of the office floor, everything feels louder, brighter, almost overwhelming. Phones ringing, keyboards clicking, voices overlapping. Normal. Safe. But Chloe stands there frozen for a moment, her mind still upstairs, replaying every second. Then she hears it. 2 employees passing by, voices low but clear enough. Did you hear? Mr. Carter is back in the building today. Yeah, top floor. Private level. No one is allowed up there. Chloe's stomach drops. Slowly, almost unwillingly, she turns her head toward the elevator she just stepped out of. The same elevator. The wrong one. Or maybe not wrong at all. Chloe does not remember walking back to her desk, only that somehow she is there, standing in front of a blinking computer screen while everything inside her still feels suspended somewhere between floors. The voices she overheard loop in her head, each word sharper than the last. Mr. Carter. Top floor. No one allowed. Her fingers hover over the keyboard, unmoving, as pieces begin to connect in a way she does not want them to. The quiet floor. The private space. The way he stood there like he owned not just the room, but the silence inside it. Ethan. The name settles in her mind now with weight, no longer just a stranger in rolled sleeves, but something much bigger, something she accidentally stepped into without permission. Chloe. Her supervisor's voice pulls her back. Those files need to go up to executive review by noon. Chloe blinks, forcing herself to nod, forcing her hands to move, to gather the folders she almost dropped earlier. Executive review. The words feel different now. He is up there. The thought comes uninvited, immediate. He is up there right now. She tells herself it does not matter. That she will take the service elevator like everyone else. That she will do her job, stay invisible, and pretend none of this happened. But when she reaches the bank of elevators again, her steps slow. The regular elevators hum with movement, people stepping in and out, conversations blending together. Normal. Predictable. Safe. And then there is the other one. The one that looks exactly the same, except now she knows it is not. Her heart picks up again, not from fear this time, but something more complicated. Curiosity. She presses the call button before she can talk herself out of it. The doors open almost immediately, like they were waiting. Chloe hesitates for a second, then steps inside. This is stupid, she whispers under her breath, but her fingers still moves toward the panel. She scans the numbers. Nothing unusual. Nothing blank. Just the expected floors. She presses 27. The doors close. The elevator begins to rise. Slowly. Smoothly. Nothing strange. Nothing wrong. She exhales, almost relieved, almost embarrassed by her own imagination. Of course it was a glitch. Of course it was just a mistake. But then, halfway up, the lights flicker. Just once. The movement stops. The silence returns. And without her pressing anything, the panel goes blank again. Her breath catches. The same soft chime echoes. The doors slide open. The same floor. The same quiet. The same warm light waiting for her like it never left. Chloe does not move this time. She just stands there, staring at the open space, as if stepping out again would confirm something she is not ready to understand. You came back. His voice is closer now. Not across the room. Right behind her. Chloe turns quickly, her pulse jumping, and there he is again, Ethan, standing just inside the doorway, like he knew exactly when she would return. There is no surprise in his expression, no confusion, just that same calm, steady gaze that feels like it sees more than it should. I did not mean to, she says, though even she can hear that it is not entirely true. He studies her for a moment, then nods slightly, as if accepting an answer she did not fully give. No one ever does, he replies. Chloe steps out of the elevator slowly this time, her eyes scanning the space again, sharper now, more aware. They said no one is allowed up here, she says, testing the words, watching his reaction. They are right, he answers simply. The weight of that lands heavier than anything else so far. Chloe crosses her arms slightly, trying to steady herself, trying to hold onto some control. Then why am I here? She asks. Ethan's gaze lingers on her, thoughtful, almost careful. Then he says quietly, that is the part you are going to have to figure out. And for the first time, Chloe realizes this is not just a wrong elevator. This is a question she was never supposed to ask. Chloe feels the question echo inside her long after he says it, like the floor itself is waiting for her answer. She glances back at the elevator, half expecting the doors to close and trap her here, but they remain open, silent, patient, as if even they are giving her a choice. Figure out what? She asks, her voice quieter now, less defensive, more careful. Ethan does not respond immediately. Instead, he walks past her, unhurried, toward the large window that overlooks the city, hands slipping into his pockets like this space belongs to him in a way that cannot be questioned. Why you are the only one who keeps finding this place, he says finally. Chloe lets out a small, incredulous breath. I am not finding anything. I pressed the wrong button twice. Even as she says it, the words feel thinner, less convincing than before. Ethan turns slightly, leaning against the edge of the desk, his gaze steady on her. Elevators do not make the same mistake twice, he replies. The logic lands heavier than she expects. Chloe looks down at the floor, then back at the panel inside the elevator, still blank, still impossible. Then explain it, she challenges, though there is no real confidence behind it. Ethan studies her again, as if weighing how much to say. This floor is not listed. It does not appear on any system. It does not respond to standard access. He pauses, then adds quietly, and yet, you walked into it. Twice. Chloe crosses her arms tighter, not out of defiance this time, but to steady herself. So what? You think I am special? She asks, half mocking, half searching. Ethan does not smile. I think you are not random. The air shifts again, subtle but unmistakable. Chloe shakes her head, taking a step further into the room despite every instinct telling her to leave. You do not even know me. I know enough, he says. Her eyes flicker back to the sketch on the table, that unfinished version of her face that should not exist. The memory of it sends a quiet unease through her chest. No, she says softly. You do not. Ethan pushes off the desk and walks closer, stopping just a few feet away, close enough that his presence feels real in a way everything else does not. Then tell me, he says, his voice calm but direct. Why were you looking at that sketch like it meant something to you? Chloe hesitates. She had not planned to answer that. She had not planned to stay this long. But something about the way he asks makes it harder to deflect. Because I draw, she admits, her voice barely above a whisper now. I notice details, angles, things people miss. Ethan's expression softens just slightly, not in pity, but in recognition. And he prompts. Chloe swallows, forcing herself to meet his eyes. And that was not just a drawing. It was intentional, like you knew exactly what you were looking at. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full of something unspoken, something building just beneath the surface. Ethan exhales slowly, glancing at the sketch before looking back at her. What if I told you, he says carefully, that I did not draw that from memory? Chloe's heart stutters, just once. Then from what? She asks. Ethan holds her gaze for a moment longer, then says quietly, from observation. The word lands heavier than anything else so far. Chloe's mind races, replaying every moment of the past week, every hallway she walked, every corner she stood in, every time she felt like she was being watched, but dismissed it as nerves. That is not funny, she says quickly, her voice tightening, though there is no humor in his expression. It was not meant to be. Chloe takes a step back now, the space suddenly feeling smaller, closer. So what? You have cameras everywhere? You just watch people. Ethan shakes his head once. Not people, he says. Just moments that matter. Chloe stares at him, trying to understand what that even means, but nothing about this makes sense anymore. And I matter? She asks, the question slipping out before she can stop it. Ethan does not answer right away. Instead, he looks at her like the answer is already obvious, like it has been from the moment she stepped onto this floor. You would not be here if you did not, he says quietly. And for the first time, Chloe is not sure if she should feel seen or afraid. Chloe does not like the way that answer settles inside her chest, not because it is loud, but because it is quiet in a way that feels certain. She looks away first, breaking eye contact, trying to regain some sense of control over a situation that keeps slipping further from anything familiar. You keep talking like this is intentional, she says slowly, choosing her words carefully now. Like I was supposed to be here. Ethan does not interrupt. He just listens, the way someone does when they already know where a conversation is going. Chloe exhales, pacing a small step across the polished floor, her heels clicking softly in the silence. But I was not supposed to be here. I am a temp. I barely got this job. I spend my mornings trying not to mess up filing systems, and my afternoons pretending I understand half the conversations happening around me. She lets out a short breath, almost a laugh, but there is no humor in it. There is nothing about me that belongs on a floor like this. Ethan watches her carefully, his expression unreadable but focused, like every word she says is being measured against something she cannot see. Belonging is not always about where you start, he says quietly. Chloe stops pacing, turning back to him. Then what is it about? She asks, more directly now. For a moment, he does not answer. Instead, he walks past her again, toward a section of the room she had not fully noticed before. A series of shelves, not filled with awards or documents, but with sketchbooks. Dozens of them. Different sizes, different levels of wear, some neatly stacked, others slightly out of place like they have been used recently. Chloe's breath catches again, softer this time, more controlled but no less real. You draw, she says, the realization settling in her voice. Ethan nods once. Sometimes. Chloe steps closer, drawn in despite herself, her fingers brushing lightly along the edge of one sketchbook before she pulls back, unsure if she is allowed to touch anything here. These are not just sometimes, she murmurs, glancing at the volume, the time it must have taken to fill even a fraction of these pages. Ethan does not respond to that. Instead, he picks up one of the books and flips it open, not handing it to her yet, just letting the pages rest in his hands. Chloe watches him, waiting. You said you noticed details, he says, his voice steady. So tell me what you see. He turns the sketchbook slightly, enough for her to look without fully taking it. Chloe leans in, her eyes scanning the page. It is not her this time. It is a hallway. A simple one. Office lighting, polished floors, nothing remarkable at first glance. But then she sees it. The reflection in the glass panel. A figure, slightly blurred, standing just out of frame. Watching. Her stomach tightens. That is not random, she says quietly. Ethan nods. No, he turns the page. Another sketch. A break room. Coffee machine. Empty chairs. And again, in the corner, a reflection. Someone standing just outside the door. Chloe steps back slightly now, her pulse rising again, not from fear exactly, but from the growing sense that she is only seeing part of something much larger. You said you do not watch people, she reminds him, her voice more cautious now. I said I watch moments, he corrects gently. Chloe crosses her arms again, grounding herself. And I am one of those moments, she asks. Ethan finally meets her eyes again, and this time there is no distance in his gaze, no deflection. Just clarity. You were the only one who looked back, he says. The words land differently than she expects. Not threatening, not intrusive, just honest. Chloe frowns slightly, trying to understand. Look back at what? She presses. Ethan does not answer right away. Instead, he walks toward the large window again, the city stretching endlessly below them, people moving in patterns too small to distinguish from this height. Most people move through their day without noticing anything outside of it, he says. They follow directions. They press the right buttons. They stay on the right floors. Chloe follows his gaze, though she is not sure what she is supposed to see. And me? She asks quietly. Ethan glances at her, just briefly. You pressed something you were not supposed to, he says. And instead of leaving, you stayed long enough to ask why. Chloe feels that settle somewhere deeper now, past the confusion, past the discomfort. It is not just about the elevator. It is about the choice she made after it. She looks back at the open space, the sketchbooks, the quiet that feels different from the noise downstairs. So what happens now? She asks, her voice softer but steadier than before. Ethan considers her for a moment, then says, That depends. Chloe waits. On whether you are here by accident, he continues, or because you were meant to find something. And for the first time, Chloe realizes she is not just trying to leave anymore. She is trying to understand what she has already stepped into. Chloe does not answer right away, not because she does not have something to say, but because for the first time she feels like any answer she gives might actually change something. The silence between them stretches, not uncomfortable, but heavy with possibility. She looks at the sketchbooks again, then at the window, then back at him. What if I do not want to find anything? She asks finally, her voice quieter now, more honest than before. Ethan studies her for a moment, then nods slightly, like he respects the question more than any answer she could give. Then you walk back into that elevator, he says calmly, and everything goes back to the way it was. Chloe glances over her shoulder at the open doors, still waiting, still offering an exit that feels simpler than anything else in this room. For a second, she imagines it. Going back downstairs, filing papers, answering emails, forgetting this floor exists, forgetting him. It would be easy. It would be safe. But something inside her resists the idea, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to make her hesitate. And if I stay? She asks. Ethan's expression shifts just slightly, not into a smile, but into something more open, more real. Then you stop pretending this is a mistake, he replies. The words settle differently than everything else he has said so far. Chloe exhales slowly, her fingers loosening around the folder she is still holding like a shield. You keep saying that, she says. Like this is not random. Ethan takes a step closer, not enough to crowd her, just enough to close the distance that has been there since she arrived. Tell me something, he says, his tone softer now. When the elevator stopped the first time, why did you step out? Chloe blinks, caught off guard by the question. She had not expected that. I do not know, she admits after a second. I was curious. Ethan nods once. And the second time? Chloe hesitates again, but this time the answer comes quicker, more certain. Because I wanted to know if it would happen again. The moment she says it, she realizes something important. This was not just an accident. Not the second time. Ethan watches that realization settle across her face, and he does not interrupt it. He lets it happen. That is the difference, he says quietly. Chloe looks at him, her brows drawing together slightly. Between what? She asks. Between people who pass through moments, he answers, and people who follow them. The words land deeper than she expects, like they are not just about the elevator, not just about this floor, but about something bigger she has been ignoring for a long time. Chloe looks down at her hands, then slowly sets the folder on the nearest surface, letting it go for the first time since she arrived. The small action feels bigger than it should, like she is setting down more than just paperwork. You talk like you have been waiting for something, she says, her voice quieter now, but steadier. Ethan does not deny it. Maybe I have, he says. Chloe lifts her gaze again, searching his face, trying to understand what that means. For me? She asks, the question coming out softer than she intended. Ethan holds her gaze, and this time there is no distance, no mystery hiding behind his expression, just honesty. For someone who would not walk away, he says. The simplicity of that answer catches her off guard more than anything else. Chloe glances back at the elevator one more time, then back at him. The choice is still there. It has not disappeared, but it feels different now, heavier, more meaningful. And what happens if I do not walk away? She asks. Ethan takes a slow breath, then says, then you start seeing what everyone else misses. Chloe feels something shift again, deeper this time. Not fear, not confusion, but something closer to clarity. She nods slightly, almost to herself. Okay, she says. It is a small word, but it carries more weight than anything she has said so far. Ethan watches her carefully, as if confirming that she means it. Then, for the first time since she arrived, He gestures further into the space, beyond the window, beyond the sketchbooks, toward a hallway she has not yet explored. Then let me show you where this really begins, he says. And Chloe realizes, whatever this is, she has already stepped too far in to pretend it was just a wrong elevator. Chloe hesitates only for a fraction of a second before she follows him. And even that hesitation feels more like a habit than a real doubt. The hallway he gestures toward is subtle at first, almost hidden in the architecture of the space, as if it was never meant to draw attention. The lighting shifts slightly as she steps into it, softer, more focused, like each step forward is narrowing her world instead of expanding it. This is still part of the building? She asks quietly, her voice naturally lowering as if the space demands it. Ethan walks just ahead of her, not rushing, not explaining yet. It is part of something, he replies. That answer does not help, but she notices he is not trying to confuse her. He is letting her experience it instead. The hallway opens into another room, smaller than the main space, but somehow more personal. Chloe slows down as she steps inside, her eyes immediately drawn to the walls. Photographs, dozens of them, not framed in gold or presented like achievements, but arranged carefully, almost intentionally imperfect. Real moments. A woman laughing in the rain. A man sitting alone at a bus stop, staring at his phone. A child reaching up for something just out of frame. None of them look staged. None of them look aware they are being captured. Chloe feels something tighten in her chest again, but this time it is not confusion. It is recognition. These are not just moments, she says softly. They are people. Ethan steps beside her now, his gaze moving across the images with a familiarity that feels different from the way someone looks at decorations. They are stories, he says. Chloe studies one photograph longer than the others. A young woman standing outside a small cafe, adjusting her jacket, her expression caught between nervous and determined. It is not her, but it feels like it could be. Why these? She asks. Ethan does not answer right away. Instead, he walks further into the room and stops near a long table covered in loose pages, notes, sketches layered over one another like pieces of something unfinished. Chloe follows slowly, her curiosity pulling her forward again. Because these are the moments before something changes, he says finally. Chloe looks at him, then back at the photographs. Before what changes? She asks. Ethan meets her gaze briefly. Everything, he says simply. The word lands quietly, but carries weight. Chloe looks back at the images again, this time differently. Not just as random snapshots, but as something connected. A pattern she cannot fully see yet. You think you can predict people? She asks, a hint of skepticism returning, though it is softer now, less defensive. Ethan shakes his head. No, he says. I think people reveal themselves in small moments before they realize it matters. Chloe glances down at the table, her eyes catching something familiar. Her breath stills. It is another sketch. Not just one. Several. Different angles. Different expressions. All of her. Some from when she was walking through the lobby. Some from when she was sitting at her desk, unaware. One from just minutes ago, standing in the elevator, hesitation visible in the slight tilt of her shoulders. You said you do not watch people, she says again. But this time her voice is quieter, not accusing, just trying to understand. Ethan steps closer to the table, resting his hand lightly against the edge. I do not follow everyone, he replies. Only the ones who stand at the edge of something and do not realize it yet. Chloe's eyes stay on the sketches, her thoughts racing faster now. Connecting pieces she is not sure she wants to connect. And I am standing at the edge of something? She asks. Ethan does not hesitate this time. You have been for a while, he says. Chloe finally looks up at him, searching his face for something that will make this feel less overwhelming. And you have just been watching? She asks. Ethan exhales slowly, and for the first time, there is something like vulnerability in the way he answers. I have been waiting to see if you would step forward on your own, he says. The honesty in that answer disarms her more than anything else so far. Chloe looks back at the sketches one last time, then at the photographs on the wall, then at the quiet space surrounding them. Nothing here feels accidental anymore. Not the elevator. Not the floor. Not even this conversation. So this is it, she asks softly. This is your secret life? Ethan glances around the room, then back at her. No, he says. This is just the part no one else sees. Chloe feels a slow breath leave her lungs as the weight of that settles in. And somewhere deep inside, Beneath the confusion and the questions, a new realization begins to form. She is not just inside his world now. She is part of the moment he has been waiting for. Chloe does not move for a long moment, her eyes still fixed on the sketches scattered across the table, each one quietly proving that this was never just a coincidence. The air feels different now, heavier with meaning, like every second she spends here pulls her further into something she cannot easily step away from. She finally looks up at Ethan, her expression no longer just confused, but searching. "You said these are moments before everything changes," she says slowly. "So what is mine?" The question hangs between them, sharper than anything she has asked before. Ethan does not answer immediately. Instead, he reaches toward the table and lifts a single page, one she has not seen yet, and holds it for a second before turning it toward her. Chloe's breath catches again. It is not a sketch this time. It is a photograph, and it is her. Not from today, not from the lobby or the elevator. Older, simpler. She is standing outside a small grocery store, holding a paper bag, her jacket slightly too big, her hair tied back carelessly. The lighting suggests early morning, maybe winter. She remembers that day instantly. It was 2 years ago, before this job, before this building, before everything. "Where did you get that?" she asks, her voice barely steady. Ethan watches her closely, as if the answer matters less than her reaction. "You dropped something that day," he says. Chloe frowns, trying to recall. "What?" she asks. Ethan sets the photo down gently and picks up a small object from the edge of the table. He holds it out to her. It is a worn pencil. Cheap. The kind you buy in a pack of 10 for a few dollars. But Chloe knows it immediately. Her fingers tremble slightly as she takes it from him. "I lost this," she whispers. Ethan nods once. "You did." Chloe looks at it, her mind pulling her back to that moment. She had been rushing, late for a shift, juggling too many things at once. The pencil had slipped from her hand, rolled across the pavement, and she had not stopped to pick it up. She did not have time. She had told herself it did not matter. It was just a pencil. "You kept it?" she asks, looking up at him again, her voice softer now, more uncertain. Ethan does not look away. "I kept the moment," he says. The words land differently now, deeper, more personal. Chloe feels something shift again, something quieter but more real than the confusion from before. "Why?" she asks. Ethan exhales slowly, as if this is the part he does not usually explain. "Because you were running past something you cared about," he says. Chloe's brows draw together slightly. "It was just a pencil," she says, though even as she speaks, she knows that is not entirely true. Ethan shakes his head gently. "It was not about the pencil," he says. "It was about the choice." Chloe looks down at it again, her fingers tightening slightly around the familiar shape. "What choice?" she asks. Ethan steps closer, his voice steady but quieter now. "You looked at it when it fell," he says. "You hesitated. Just for a second. Long enough to show that it mattered to you." Chloe's breath slows as she listens. "But you kept moving," he continues. "Because you thought something else mattered more." The memory becomes clearer now, sharper. The pressure she felt that morning. The fear of being late. Of losing something she could not afford to lose. She had chosen the practical thing. The necessary thing. "Everyone makes choices like that," she says softly. Ethan nods. "Yes," he agrees. "But not everyone looks back." Chloe's chest tightens slightly at that. She remembers that too. She had taken a few steps, then turned her head just slightly, watching the pencil for a brief second before forcing herself to keep going. She had told herself it did not matter, that it was small, insignificant. "You noticed that?" she asks. Ethan holds her gaze. "That is the only part that mattered," he says. Chloe feels something settle inside her now, something clearer than before. This is not about surveillance. It is not about control. It is about attention, about the moments people ignore. So all of this, she gestures slightly around the room, the sketches, the photographs, the quiet space that feels more real than anything downstairs, is built on moments people think do not matter. Ethan nods once. "And the people who prove they do," he adds. Chloe looks at the pencil in her hand again, then back at him. The weight of it feels different now, heavier than its size suggests. "And you think I am one of those people?" she asks. Ethan does not hesitate. "I know you are," he says. The certainty in his voice does not feel overwhelming this time. It feels grounding. Chloe exhales slowly, her thoughts shifting again, not away from this, but deeper into it. Then what happens if I do not want to keep missing those moments? She asks quietly. Ethan's expression softens just slightly, like this is the question he has been waiting for all along. Then you stop running past them, he says. Chloe looks around the room again, seeing it differently now, not as something strange or hidden, but as something intentional, something built on paying attention. Her gaze returns to him, steadier now. And you think this place will teach me that? She asks. Ethan studies her for a moment, then shakes his head gently. No, he says. I think you are the reason it exists. The words land softly, but they change everything. And for the first time, Chloe is not just questioning why she is here. She is starting to wonder what she is supposed to do next. Chloe stands still, the pencil still resting in her hand, but everything about it feels different now, like it carries more weight than anything she has held in years. Her eyes lift slowly to meet Ethan's again, searching for something she cannot quite name, something that will tell her this is not as big as it feels. But it is. She can feel that now. You think this place exists because of me, she says quietly, repeating his words as if saying them out loud might make them less real. Ethan does not correct her. He does not soften it either. Not just because of you, he says, his voice calm, grounded, but because of what you represent. Chloe's brows draw together slightly. Which is what exactly? She asks, more firmly now, as if she needs something concrete to hold on to. Ethan takes a step closer to the table, resting his hand lightly against the edge again, his gaze steady but thoughtful. The moment someone chooses to notice instead of ignore, he says. Chloe exhales slowly, glancing down at the sketches again, then back at the photograph of herself, then at the pencil. The pattern is there now. She can see it. Every detail, every choice, every hesitation. So all of this, she gestures again, slower this time, more deliberate, is about people who almost miss something important. Ethan nods once. And the ones who do not, he adds. Chloe feels something tighten in her chest, not from confusion anymore, but from recognition. She thinks about the past week, the way she rushed through everything, the way she kept her head down, trying to survive instead of actually seeing anything around her. The elevator had not just been a mistake. It had been a pause, a break in that pattern. Then why me? She asks again, but this time the question is different. It is not disbelief. It is curiosity. Ethan watches her carefully, like he knows the difference. Because you did not just see it, he says. You came back for it. The simplicity of that answer lands deeper than anything else so far. Chloe looks at him for a long moment, letting that settle. It is true. The second time was not an accident. She had chosen it, even if she did not understand why at the time. And now that I am here, she asks softly, what happens next? Ethan does not answer right away. Instead, he reaches toward the table again and slides a small stack of papers toward her. Not sketches, not photographs, something else. Chloe steps closer, setting the pencil down carefully before picking up the top sheet. Her eyes scan it, and her breath slows again, but for a different reason. It is a report, a detailed one. Notes, observations, names, places, moments described in a way that feels almost predictive. She flips to the next page. Another person, another moment, another turning point waiting to happen. What is this? She asks, her voice lower now, more focused. Ethan watches her reaction closely. Possibilities, he says. Chloe looks up at him quickly. You mean predictions? She asks. Ethan shakes his head slightly. No, he replies. Opportunities. Chloe glances back down at the pages, her mind moving faster now, connecting this to everything she has seen in the room. The photographs, the sketches, the way he watches moments instead of people. You are tracking these people, she says slowly, waiting for something to happen. Ethan nods once. Waiting to see if they choose differently, he says. Chloe's grip on the papers tightens slightly. And if they do not? She asks. Ethan's expression does not change much, but there is something quieter in his voice now. Then nothing changes, he says. Chloe exhales, looking back down at the pages, then up at him again. And you think I can help with this? She asks. Ethan does not hesitate. I think you already are, he says. Chloe blinks, caught off guard by that. I have not done anything, she says. Ethan tilts his head slightly. You walked into a place no one else can access, he says. You noticed what others ignore. You asked questions instead of leaving. He pauses for a second, then adds quietly, that is how. It starts. Chloe looks at the papers again, then at the room around her, then back at him. The weight of it all is settling differently now. Not overwhelming. Not confusing. Just real. So what? You want me to stay up here and watch people with you? She asks, a hint of challenge returning, though softer now. Ethan's lips curve just slightly, not quite a smile. No, he says. I want you to go back downstairs. Chloe frowns slightly, not expecting that. Back? She asks. Ethan nods. That is where the moments happen, he says. Chloe looks at him, trying to understand. And I am supposed to do what exactly? She asks. Ethan holds her gaze, steady, certain. Pay attention, he says. The answer is simple, but it lands with more weight than anything else. Chloe glances once more at the elevator, then back at the papers in her hand, then finally at Ethan. The choice is there again. But this time, it does not feel like a way out. It feels like a beginning. Chloe does not move right away, even after his words settle into the silence between them. Pay attention. It sounds simple, almost too simple for something that now feels this significant. Her fingers tighten slightly around the stack of papers, her eyes scanning the names again, the moments described in careful detail, each one balanced on the edge of something unseen. You make it sound easy, she says quietly, though her voice carries a trace of uncertainty now, not resistance. Ethan watches her closely, his expression steady. It is not easy, he says. It is just simple. Chloe lets out a slow breath, glancing around the room one more time, taking in the photographs, the sketches, the quiet structure of something built over time, not by chance. And you just trust that people will make the right choice? She asks. Ethan shakes his head once. No, he replies. I trust that the moment will show who they already are. Chloe looks down again, her thoughts moving through everything she has seen, everything she has felt since stepping onto this floor. It is not about changing people. It is about seeing them clearly. And if I see something, she asks, lifting her gaze back to him. If I notice one of these moments, what am I supposed to do? Ethan takes a small step closer, not closing the distance entirely, but enough that his voice feels more direct, more personal. You do what you did with the elevator, he says. Chloe frowns slightly. Which is? She presses. Ethan's gaze does not waver. You choose not to ignore it, he answers. The simplicity of it unsettles her again, but in a different way now. Not confusion. Responsibility. Chloe glances toward the elevator, still open, still waiting like it has been since she arrived. The path back is right there, but it does not feel like an escape anymore. It feels like a test. She takes a slow step toward it, then another, the papers still in her hand. And you? She asks over her shoulder. You just stay up here? Ethan does not move to follow her. I observe, he says. Chloe pauses at the threshold, her hand brushing lightly against the edge of the elevator door. That sounds like the same thing, she says. Ethan shakes his head slightly. It is not, he replies. You are inside the moment. I am not. Chloe turns back to look at him fully now, studying his expression, trying to understand the difference he is pointing to. Why not? She asks. For the first time, there is a faint shift in his expression, something quieter, almost reflective. Because if I step into it, he says, I change it. The answer lingers in the air longer than she expects. Chloe processes it slowly, the meaning settling piece by piece. He does not interfere. He does not guide. He watches. And now, he wants her to step in where he cannot. So you need me, she says softly, not as a question this time, but as a realization. Ethan does not deny it. I need someone who sees what I see, he says. Chloe looks down at the papers again, then back at him. And you think I can do that? She asks. Ethan meets her gaze without hesitation. You already have, he says. Chloe stands there for a moment longer, the weight of the choice fully clear now. This is not about a job anymore. It is not about a mistake. It is about stepping into something that will change how she sees everything. She takes a slow breath, then steps into the elevator. The doors do not close immediately. They wait, just like before. Chloe looks at him one last time. What if I get it wrong? She asks quietly. Ethan's answer comes without pause. Then you learn from it, he says. There is no pressure in his voice. No expectation. Just certainty. Chloe nods slightly, more to herself than to him. Then she turns and presses the button for the main floor. The panel lights up normally this time. No flicker. No blank space. Just a number. The doors begin to close, slowly separating her from the quiet world she just stepped into. But just before they shut completely, she hears his voice again. "Chloe," he calls. She looks up, meeting his gaze through the narrowing space. "Do not miss it this time," he says. The doors close. The elevator begins to descend. And for the first time since this started, Chloe is not trying to understand what happened. She is thinking about what she is about to see next. The elevator opens to noise, light, movement, everything rushing back at once. But Chloe does not step out immediately, not like before, not automatically. She stands there for half a second longer than she should, watching the flow of people as if she is seeing it for the first time. Then she steps out, slower, more aware, her grip still firm on the papers in her hand. The office feels different now, not because it has changed, but because she has. Conversations overlap, footsteps echo, phones ring, but beneath all of it, there are pauses, hesitations, small shifts she never noticed before. She walks toward her desk, her eyes moving more deliberately now, scanning not just where she needs to go, but what is happening along the way. A man near the coffee station fumbles with his cup, catching it just before it spills, letting out a quiet breath of relief. A woman at the printer stares at her phone a second too long before turning away, her expression tightening. A junior employee hovers near a supervisor's office, raising his hand slightly as if to knock, then lowering it again. Chloe slows her pace without meaning to. These are the moments. Not loud, not dramatic, just there, waiting. She reaches her desk, but does not sit down right away. Instead, she sets the papers down carefully, her eyes drifting back across the room. The names on the pages echo in her mind, but now they are not just names. They are possibilities. She exhales slowly, then turns her attention back to the office. The junior employee is still standing there, still hesitating. Chloe watches him for a moment, noticing the small details now, the way his shoulders are tense, the way his fingers curl slightly at his sides, like he is building the courage to do something he is not sure he should do. She remembers what Ethan said. You do not ignore it. Chloe takes a step forward before she fully decides to. It is not a big move, not dramatic, just enough to shift her position closer to him. "Hey," she says lightly as she passes by, her tone casual, natural, like she is not doing anything important at all. The man looks up, slightly startled. "Oh, sorry," he says quickly, stepping back as if he was in her way. Chloe shakes her head gently. "You were about to knock, right?" she says, nodding toward the office door. He hesitates, caught off guard. Yeah," he admits. He trails off, uncertainty filling the space. Chloe studies him for a second, then gives a small, encouraging smile. "If it matters enough to stop you, it probably matters enough to say," she says. The words feel simple, almost too simple, but she sees something shift in his expression as he processes them. He takes a breath, a real one this time, then nods slightly. "Right," he says. Without overthinking it, he turns and knocks. The sound is soft, but it lands. Chloe watches for just a second longer, then continues walking, her heart beating a little faster, not from fear, but from awareness. She did something. Small, almost invisible, but something. She returns to her desk and sits down, her hands resting lightly on the surface as she looks around again. The office is still the same. Nothing has dramatically changed. But now she sees the edges of moments everywhere. The hesitation before a decision. The glance before a choice. The second where something could go one way or another. Her eyes drift down to the papers again, then back up. This is what he meant. Not control. Not prediction. Presence. Chloe leans back slightly in her chair, her mind quieter now, more focused. She is not trying to understand everything anymore. She is just watching. And then, across the room, she notices something else. A woman, standing near the exit, holding a small envelope, her fingers tightening around it like she is about to leave something behind. Chloe's breath slows again. Another moment. Another edge. She stands up before she even realizes she has made the decision. And this time, she does not hesitate. Chloe moves before she can overthink it, weaving through the quiet rhythm of the office with a steadiness she did not have an hour ago. Her eyes fixed on the woman near the exit, the envelope still clutched tightly in her hand like it holds something heavier than paper. As Chloe gets closer, she notices the details now, the slight tremble in the woman's fingers, the way her gaze keeps shifting toward the door and then back toward the office behind her, like she is caught between leaving and staying. Another edge. Another moment. Chloe slows just enough to not startle her. "Hey," she says gently, her voice calm, not intrusive, just present. The woman looks up, surprised, her expression guarded for a second before softening slightly. "Oh, sorry," she says automatically, as if she has done something wrong by simply standing there. Chloe shakes her head lightly. "You are fine," she says, then glances briefly at the envelope, not pointing it out directly, just acknowledging it without pressure. "Big decision," she adds, her tone light but sincere. The woman hesitates, her fingers tightening around the edge of the envelope again. "Something like that," she admits quietly. Chloe nods, giving her space to speak, not filling the silence this time, just holding it. The woman exhales slowly, like she has been holding something in for too long. "I was going to leave this on my manager's desk," she says, lifting the envelope slightly. "Resignation letter." The words land softly, but the weight behind them is clear. Chloe does not react with surprise. She just listens. "But," she prompts gently. The woman looks down, then back up, uncertainty flickering across her face. "But I am not sure if I am leaving for the right reason," she says. Chloe feels that familiar shift again, the same quiet recognition she felt upstairs, the sense that this is the moment Ethan was talking about. Not dramatic, not obvious, just real. "Why are you leaving?" Chloe asks, her voice steady. The woman hesitates, then answers honestly. "Because I feel invisible here," she says. "Like nothing I do actually matters." Chloe lets the words sit for a second, not rushing to respond, not trying to fix it. Then she says, "And if you stay?" The woman blinks, caught off guard by the question. "If I stay," she repeats. Chloe nods slightly. "What would need to change for you to feel like it does matter?" The woman looks at her, really looks at her this time, like she is considering something she has not allowed herself to think about before. "I would have to say something," she admits slowly. "Ask for more responsibility. Speak up." Chloe offers a small, understanding smile. "So the question is not whether you leave," she says softly. "It is whether you have tried staying differently." The woman's expression shifts again, something clearer forming beneath the hesitation. She looks down at the envelope, then back toward the hallway leading to her manager's office. Chloe does not say anything else. She just waits. After a moment, the woman takes a slow breath, then lowers the envelope slightly. "I guess I have not," she says. Chloe nods once, a quiet encouragement. The woman studies her for a second longer, then gives a small, almost grateful smile. "Thank you," she says, her voice steadier now. Chloe returns the smile, simple and genuine. "You are welcome," she replies. The woman turns, not toward the exit this time, but toward the offices, the envelope still in her hand, but no longer held like an ending. Chloe watches her go for a second, then exhales slowly, her chest feeling lighter, not because something dramatic happened, but because something shifted. She did not tell her what to do. She did not control the outcome. She just stayed in the moment long enough to see it clearly. Chloe turns back toward her desk, her steps steady, her mind quiet in a new way. And as she walks, she notices more now. The subtle pauses, the almost choices, the edges everywhere. She glances up toward the ceiling for just a brief second, toward a floor no one else knows exists. "I see it now," she murmurs under her breath, not expecting an answer. But somewhere above, in a quiet space filled with sketches and moments, someone is already watching, not with control, not with interference, but with the quiet certainty that she is exactly where she needs to be. Chloe sits at her desk again, but nothing about the way she exists in that space is the same as it was before. The noise, the movement, the routine all continue exactly as they had, but now she moves through it with intention, like every second carries a quiet question waiting to be noticed. Her eyes lift from her screen more often than they stay on it, not distracted, but aware, tracking the small pauses that ripple through the room like signals most people never hear. Across the office, the junior employee she spoke to earlier steps out of his manager's office, his posture straighter, his expression lighter, like something shifted just enough to matter. Chloe watches him for a brief second, then allows herself a small, almost invisible smile before returning to her work. Not everything needs to be big to be meaningful. The thought settles gently in her mind, no longer something she is trying to understand, but something she is beginning to live. Time passes differently now, measured not just by tasks completed, but by moments noticed. A conversation that almost turns into conflict but softens at the last second. A missed call returned instead of ignored. A quiet thank you that might have gone unsaid. Each one small, each one real, and each one shaping something she cannot fully see yet, but knows is there. As the afternoon light begins to shift through the windows, Chloe leans back slightly in her chair, her gaze drifting upward again, not expecting to see anything, but acknowledging the presence of something beyond what anyone else in the room is aware of. She does not need to go back up there to know it exists. She can feel it now in the way she sees the world, in the way she chooses to respond instead of react. Her eyes return to her desk, where the papers still rest, the names and possibilities no longer abstract, but alive in the space around her. She reaches out and closes the folder gently, not because she is finished, but because she understands what it represents now. This is not about tracking outcomes. It is about being present in the moment before they happen. The office begins to thin as the day winds down, people gathering their things, conversations shifting toward plans outside of work, the rhythm changing once again. Chloe stands, collecting her bag, but her movements are slower, more deliberate. She is not rushing anymore. As she walks toward the elevator, she passes the same hallway, the same doors, the same ordinary details that no longer feel invisible. She steps inside the elevator, her reflection staring back at her in the polished metal, and for a brief second, she sees it. Not just herself, but the version of herself that almost missed all of this. The version that would have pressed the right button and never questioned anything. She exhales softly, a small, knowing smile forming as she reaches toward the panel. Her finger hovers for a moment, not uncertain, but aware. Then she presses the button. The doors begin to close, and as they do, she glances up at the display. For a split second, just before the numbers change, the panel flickers. Not long enough for anyone else to notice. Not long enough to prove anything, but long enough for her. The elevator moves. Down this time. Back into the world she now sees differently. But somewhere above, beyond the numbers and the floors that exist on any directory, a quiet space remains, filled with moments waiting to be understood. And for the first time, Chloe does not feel like she stumbled into something by accident. She feels like she stepped into something that was waiting for her to be ready. And now that she is, she knows this is not the end of the story. It is just the first moment she finally chose not to miss.